Greetings everyone, welcome back to my sketchbook. I am going to do another elf drawing, and this one is going to be based on this character. This is a Lego Dobby. Of course it includes the sock. I don't know how this is going to go. I don't really like this sculpt very much. I mean, people much wiser than me sat down and decided what they wanted for the character. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess I had to capture very specific features in order to do this. Yeah, well, they have the ears, I guess. So I'm going to sort of scratch out a doodle, and maybe I'll live with something, and I don't know. This will just be a fun thing anyway. So let's see. All right. Well, I do have the pen dipped, as you can see. And yeah, I got to try to think of how sad, and he's got a short forehead. Does that make sense? I don't know. I remember somebody a long time ago saying something about perhaps he was modeled after a world leader. And I don't know if that's true or not. He is a tragic character, beloved as well, though. The fact that he is basically an abused creature, I think, is also the most heartbreaking thing, and it lasted for such a long time. So his freedom meant a lot to a lot of people who read the series especially. I have to try to figure out what I want to do with the length of the nose here and how that would look. Now, because I have this a little more sort of face onward, that's going to be a little bit more difficult because of the length of his nose. His brow here as well. Like I said, he has a short forehead. And I don't even know his age, to be honest with you. I'm sure somebody knows. Yes, a beloved character. Maybe put the nostrils back a little bit further. Which means more stuff to hide. This is kind of the fun thing for me when playing around in the sketchbook, is just trying to figure out certain things. My memory is a little bit off with a lot of things sometimes, and then sometimes it's not so bad. And this is not the greatest reference, but I think it captures what I remember about the ears. Short chin. to think of Dobby as being free and happy, which means his ears shouldn't really slouch a lot if we're treating him kind of in a way like well, a happy elf with kind of fun, happy ears. I'm reminded in some way of orcas when they spend so much time in captivity. Their fins slouch, almost as if they're extra sad as well. But I'm going to see about this because I don't want to picture Dobby as being sad. For fun, because he's spent so much time being chilly. I'm going to give him a turtleneck, I think. Turtleneck sweater. I'm just kind of roughing in a couple of things. And I'll try to swing in a bit more detail after. This kind of reminds me of something. The excitement of going to McDonald's and getting a pair of socks for the Grinch. How exciting is that? But with this, I want you to imagine that, you know, it's Christmas time and that Dobby is hanging a stocking. And it's still kind of one of his most prized possessions. I'm going to back this out a little bit more because I don't really pay attention to the camera. Shame on me. You know, how long did he spend with the Malfoys and not given clothing, running around like he's Winnie the Pooh? He deserved better than that. Here we will give him pants, his long forearms. I think the ears should have been maybe a little bit bigger. Now, at Universal Studios, you can go to Gringotts Bank and you can have a chat with the banker, and you have the ability to have certain questions answered by the goblin, but you can get a funny response, or at least you could at one time, if you refer to the goblin as some version of a house elf. He could get really upset with you. But things have changed a little bit at Universal, and I don't know, the responses of the goblin in the bank, I don't know, they're not nearly as funny anymore. I'd been to Universal Studios in Florida a few times, and it's just kind of funny. If you walk in, you could say something like, you know, you're the most handsome goblin that's ever existed, and you could get a nice warm response. Not so much. I don't know. Like, I think the last time that I went, it was just like, yeah, there was no real deal kind of responses, or maybe it was just a busy day or whatever. That used to be kind of a fun thing to do. It was a little messy. But I'm not going too far with this doodle anyway. Might as well put in some teeth. But yes, I think Dobby not being well taken care of kind of really painted a picture of Malfoys. Another reason why you didn't really like them very much. Yeah, I think I initially set up the nostrils a little too low. I feel like he has like light gray eyes. This is almost a caricature anyway. Well, not quite, but you know, overall for the character. Now, I'm not really sure about the internal structure of the ear because this doesn't really make sense, whatever's going on here. I kind of get like little shadow kind of stuff. I can kind of make something up, I guess. And up here, actually, let's just do a little bit more or something. I feel like I could probably get a bit more refinement and just sort of play around with this for a bit longer and then bring out more and more of the character as I go. He's got very long fingers. And here, let's kind of stitch in his name. I can clean this up after. A little something like that. For fun, I'm going to zoom in on that, I think. Let's go right to his sock. I'll just sort of exaggerate the quick and ugly stitches that I put in. I'm not sure if in the movies versus the books, if he was supposed to not have any sort of clothing at all, but just for decency's sake, they gave him a sack to wear, or he had access to using that. He wouldn't have been given clothing. Kind of miserable to do that. Do you think he deserves like a little hat? That could be kind of fun. Well, let's do that. Because those kind of toques are fun to draw. We're almost done here, I think. Go out just a little bit. So some people in the final parts of the school year, today is considered to be Plaid Day, which is super exciting. Get to do some fun things for the final week of school. So hopefully you're wearing your finest plaids. And back during Inktober, you would have heard me ramble on a little bit about Rowdy Roddy Piper, a former wrestler and super cool guy. How he had a kilt, and he had his own plaid, a registered plaid from my understanding. So an official tartan in Scotland. So that's kind of a neat thing. Let's try to add a little bit of fuzz around that so it doesn't seem like I put this in last moment. Anyway, which I did anyway, so it doesn't matter. We'll have what could be a hole here, maybe one there, because Harry Much like Dobby didn't have a great time, although I think Dobby had a far worse time in some regard for how long he spent living with the Malfoys. Now, mind you, Harry had some terrible dealings with Voldemort and what happened to his parents. I'm not trying to compare tragedies. But I think in some ways, these two were kind of kindred spirits. And Dobby authentically did not want to see harm brought to Harry Potter. And the final little bits here now. Just the sort of strange detail stuff that I like to put in once in a while, even on a 30-minute doodle. Okay. Well, I think that should be it, really. I don't know if there needs to be anything more to that. I think if I darken around his eyes, like I said, I want this to be more of a happy kind of Dobby. And I think that captures enough of how I picture him in my head. All right. No, I don't think I need to go any further than that. I think that's just fine. Yeah. All right then, folks. Thanks for hanging out. And yeah, we'll see what other kind of fun stuff we can do here in the near future. Let me see if I can move this out a little bit. My goodness. The technology and me, we're not always good friends. All right. Have a great day. For those of you who are, wearing your plaids, have a great day with that as well. And I'm eventually going to put down the pen here because, yeah, no need. Anyway, that's it. Ciao for now.